I've been wanting to make a video on setting the gripper for a while now, and today is my gripper workout day, so I figured it'd be good to do it. For most of this I'm going to use the number 1 gripper just because it's easy. But the techniques apply to all the grippers. Alright. I'm going to point out a couple things here. The dog leg of the gripper. This spring here is straight as it goes into the coil. This side, it's not so straight. It's more of an arc going in. This is the dog leg side, the straight one. A lot of people seem to think that the gripper is easier if you close it with the dog leg in your palm. I haven't really noticed myself, but for those that want to do it, that's how you determine the dog leg, the straighter portion as it goes into the coil. I'm going to try to go into as much detail as possible on this, make it easy for anyone trying to learn. Okay, my hands are slightly bigger, I think, than the average, about 8¼ inches from here to here, and for someone with smaller hands it might be slightly harder to get the position correct, but it's still possible. Alright, one thing I'd like to show is that you can use 2 fingers to kind of simulate a couple of closed gripper handles, and if you have it over here way up against the thumb pad and you squeeze your hand closed and try to crush your fingers together, you can't really do too much there. There's no leverage pushing these together in this position. So it's a really bad position to have gripper handles at the close. What you want to do is have it further out into the palm. And I kind of have a little callus ridge here where I have the gripper handles most of the time. It's not exactly in line with the fold in my hand, but it's just slightly off. Right about there. Alright, and if you were to have 2 gripper handles together, they wouldn't be laying flat in your hand. They'd be angled up a little bit. So from here, if you have your fingers here and you squeeze down, you can get a lot more leverage and pressure and actually hurt your fingers squeezing down like that. Okay, that's more of the position where you want the gripper handles. Okay, now here's my number 1 again. I'm going to go through this for a parallel set. Alright, the palm handle here I like to place right here in my hand and push on it with the opposite hand using the thumb. Kind of push it in. Alright, so you're pushing down into the palm to hold it in place. The wrist you want to cock a little bit, not all the way, but a little, so that you can get something to push against when you close the other side. So you got this one sunken in. Your fingers may not be able to reach all the way across. For example, my pinky can't reach the gripper, which is fine. I get my index and middle finger started, maybe the ring finger, pushing on this one, pushing in here again. Keep pushing in. I use these 2 fingers on the opposite hand to help pull on this bottom finger side handle. Pull on the very bottom. As I'm curling these fingers around to close it. Alright? So you got pushing in, wrist a little bit cocked, these pulling down as you have the fingers here starting to close around it. Pushing in, pulling down, then as you get it down in this position, you release this hand. You've got your ring finger there on, the pinky can now come into play and go in for the close. Alright? Now, more stuff to take a look at when you're closing the gripper is the position in your hand as far as up and down. A lot of people who never closed grippers before, if you hand them the gripper, they put it in their hand up against the thumb pad, all of their fingers pretty much centered on the handle, so that they've got, you know, all of their fingers completely on, maybe even some handle sticking out the bottom. That's a really bad thing, to have handle sticking out the bottom, because you lose a lot of leverage, a lot of your strength by having this down here. So what I like to do is have it down to where there's just a little bit, maybe half of a finger's width sticking out the bottom here, okay? So that you can just get your pinky on to help close and get the most leverage on it. So here we go again. This, it's not going to be down all the way down here in the palm. Higher up. Pushing in on it. Fingers up here. Pulling down. Close. See the pinky coming into play up just on the end here? I'll try to angle this a little bit. There. Pinky just on the end for the close. Okay? Now, one more thing that not everyone does, but I like to do, is involve the thumb in gripper closes, which usually doesn't get used. So, you may have noticed in the previous closes, but I didn't focus on it. Pushing in here, again, I'm going to go through all the steps. Grab the end with these two fingers, kind of together. The only one touching is my index finger, but I use the middle finger just to support it, so you have more strength. Got it there. Curl the fingers around. As you get closer, as the handles become closer, this thumb can reach over and grab the first knuckle there on your index finger and help pull it. Might only be a couple of pounds of pressure, but it's something that can help if you're really close to getting something closed. Alright? Another thing, chalk. I didn't use chalk for the whole first year I worked on grippers, but now I do, and I like to use it right here along where the handle goes, in the palm, and sometimes on the fingers, especially the pinky, since it gets scraped the most by the handles and the knurling. So there, a little bit. Some people like a whole bunch, some people don't like it at all, but I found it does help to hold the gripper handles in place, especially if your hands are all sweaty. Here we go again. This. And down. Alright. Let's see. That's for the parallel or mash monster set, which basically means you're getting the handles about parallel before you finish the close. So you can use the other hand to help pull it until you get to parallel, and then you have to finish it using just your gripping hand. Alright?